Hello everyone, welcome to day 3 of 15 days of DAX series. Today we are going to discuss about filter functions. Filter functions help control the visibility of data in your calculations. These functions are essential for refining measures, ignoring or keeping specific filters, and making your reports more dynamic. This video is going to be really important in this series because in this video we are going to cover some important DAX functions like filter, all, all except, all selected, keep filters, remove filters. We are going to look at difference between remove filters and all. We will solve challenge for day 3, and at the end we will look at the implementation of each of these functions. A lot of people will get confused between these functions like all except, all selected, keep filters and remove filters. Hopefully by the end of this video, you will have clear understanding of each of these functions and when to use which one. Let's begin by understanding filter function. Filter function returns a subset of the table based on a condition. In this example, we are filtering the sales table where sales amount is greater than 1000. The filter function returns a table, not a single value. Generally, it is used inside functions like calculate to apply conditions. It can be combined with other filter functions for advanced logic. The filter function works row by row, applying conditions to each row. Here we are applying the condition for amount column. If the sales amount is greater than 1000, the condition greater than 1000 will be applied row by row in the sales table. The use case in this example is to extract sales transactions where the amount is greater than 1000. Now let's look at all function. All function removes filters from a column or table. In this example, we are removing filters from sales table. It is useful for calculating totals that ignores slicers. It is often used in DAX measures to calculate percentages and ratios. The use case of this function is to calculate total sales while ignoring any applied filters. When we are using all function, the calculation will have no effect for any type of slicer or filter. Next, we are going to see all except. It removes all filters except for specific columns. We have total sales by region, and here we are applying all except on region column. In this case, it removes all filters except the region column of sales table. This is useful when we want to keep certain filters while removing other filters. It is useful when working with hierarchies and drill-through analysis. It is similar to all but more selective on particular columns. The use case of this function in this example is to keep the region filter while ignoring others in a calculation. Now I am in DAX documentation for all except function, and we are going to look at this example. The following measure formula sums sales amount USD and uses all except function to remove any context filters on the date time table except if the filter has been applied to the calendar year column. Inside all except we can see date time table and calendar year column in date time table. Because the formula uses all except, whenever any column but calendar year from the table date time is used to slice a visualization, the formula will remove any slicer filters providing a value equal to the sum of sales amount. However, if the column calendar year is used to slice the visualization, the results are different. Because calendar year is specified as the argument to all except, when the data is sliced on the year, a filter will be applied on the years at the row level. What it means is, if we have a slicer for calendar year, then the data will be filtered. If we select any other slicer, the data will not be filtered. So that is the meaning of all except function. If it is still not clear for you, we are going to look at the implementation of this function, and definitely after looking at the implementation, you will be clear what is all except. Now let's go to the next function, all selected. It removes filters but respects slicers and visual selections. Here we are taking selected sales total, and here we are using all selected on the sales table. The all selected function removes filters within the scope of a visual selection, and it is used for dynamic calculations in reports commonly applied in cumulative totals and ranking measures. It differs from all by keeping slicer selections active. The use case of this example is to calculate total sales within the selected slicer range. I know that this is confusing, but watch this video till the end and you will understand the key differences between all of these functions. Now let's go to the next function, keep filters. It modifies a filter to respect existing filters. Here we are using keep filters and we are specifying the filter on category column. Category sales category is equal to electronics. The keep filters ensures that existing filters remain applied and it is used within calculate to refine results. It prevents unwanted removal of filters from other functions and works best in interactive reports with slicers. The use case of this example is to keep slicer selections while applying an additional category filter. The bonus function for today is remove filters. It removes all filters from a table or column. When we specify remove filters on sales column, it removes all filters that are applied on this particular table. Similar to all but works more explicitly, and it is useful for overriding slicers in calculations, ensures global totals in reports. The use case of this function is to display total sales regardless of any filters applied in visuals. At this point, you will be confused about a remove filters and all function because both of these functions are basically performing almost same operations. There are some key differences in behavior while using these two functions. Remove filters is used to remove filters from specified columns or tables. It only removes filters applied to the specified columns or tables but keeps the relationships in the model intact. It is equivalent to using all but only for removing filters without affecting the relationships. So if you are using remove filters, the relationships will not be affected, only the filters applied to specific columns or tables will be removed. We are using remove filters on category column. This removes filters from the category column but retains filters from other dimensions. The all function returns all rows in a table, effectively removing filters. All also disables relationships, making it useful when calculating totals or percentages. We are applying all function on sales category while calculating the sum of sales revenue. This removes filters from category, returning total revenue across all categories. The main difference between remove filters and all function is ignoring the relationships. Remove filters will not ignore relationships. All function will ignore the relationships. When to use each of these functions? Use remove filters when you want to only remove filters but still respect model relationships. Use all function when you need to completely ignore relationships and filters, such as when calculating grand totals. Generally, if you are calculating grand totals, you will use all function. Remove filters is something which is rarely used, so we do not have to worry about this much. Now let's look at the challenge for day 3. You have a sales table with the following columns: product, category, sales amount, order date. You need to write a DAX measure to calculate the total sales for the last 30 days, ensuring that all existing filters on the table remain active except for the date filter. So this is the solution. We use the calculate function with filter to modify the date context while keeping other filters intact. Sales last 30 days is equal to calculate sum of sales amount, and we are using filter and we are using all function to remove filters on order date column in order to get the sales for last 30 days. The sum of sales amount will calculate the total sales. All function removes any filters on the date column, and filter function keeps only the last 30 days. Calculate function applies a filter while keeping other filters intact. Now let's look at the implementation of each of these functions in Power BI Desktop. I am in the table view and this is the data that we have for sales orders. The first function is filter function. Using filter function, we can create a separate table. So here I have created high sales orders table, filter sales orders. Inside filter function, we need to specify the table name, then the expression. Here we are taking sales orders where sales is greater than 3000. If we go back to sales orders table and if we look at sales column, it has some rows which are less than 3000 and some rows which are more than 3000. In our filter function, we need sales which are greater than 3000. So it will filter out all the rows where sales is less than or equal to 3000. Generally, filter function is used inside calculate function in order to apply filters. If you want to create separate table based on some conditions, then you can use filter function like we did here. Please note that this is new table. The filter function will return a table, so you must use new table in order to apply this filter function as a single function. The second function that we are going to look at is all function. Here I have added this measure to this card visual. This is total sales ignoring filters, and we are calculating sum of sales and we are using all function here. So all function will remove all filters. So it will not be affected by any slicer selection or any filter applied to the total sales. Now let's look at how this works. I will select any one category. I want you to observe this card visual. I will select any one category here. If I select a category, notice that this value did not change. I will select any region and still this value did not change. So that is about all function. It will not be affected by any slicer selection. Next function is all except. I have this measure here. Here you can see that I am calculating sum of sales again, but now I am using all except. Inside all except, we need to specify the table name and the column which we want to consider for all except function. In this case, I am taking a region column from sales orders table. If we select any other slicer other than region, then this function will not be affected. Now we are going to see how this works. I want you to focus on this card visual now. Suppose I select North region. Notice that the data is updated for North region. If I select any other region, the data will be updated to filter that region. Now see what happens if I select category slicer. You can see that this card visual is not affected by this slicer selection. It will only be affected by selecting region. That is about all except function. Here I have added category, order ID, sales column, and I have added these three measures. The first measure is sales percent of grand total. Since we are using all here, it will not be affected by any slicer selection. The next measure is all selected. We are going to understand about this function now. We are using divide sum of sales in the numerator and calculate sum of sales all selected sales orders table. What happens here is the percentage of sales will be modified based on our slicer selection. All selected will respect all slicer selections. So we are going to see what it means now. Focus on this column, sales percent of selected total. I will select a particular category. Notice that the sales percent of selected total is split based on the selected category. Inside the selected category, it will give the percentage of sales. So it will divide 3500 by 12,700 in this case. So basically it will apply the slicer that we have selected and do the calculation based on our slicer selection. Now I will select any one region, and you can see that based on region, it will give the percentage of sales. Now I want you to focus on sales percent of grand total. You can see that this is not affected based on our selection. If I deselect it, it will consider all the rows in sales order table and do the sales percentage. If I select any one category, it will not be affected by the selection because we are using all function for calculating sales percent of grand total. Now we are going to look at keep filters function. Here we are applying keep filters on category column. So we need total sales only for tech. So you can see that if the category is tech, it will show the data of that particular category. And if category is not tech, it will be blank. So that is the idea behind keep filters. What's interesting here is filter function is same as keep filters. For example, if I replace keep filters with filter function, then we will get the same result. Let's try that. Now when I click enter, you can see that we are getting the same result. You may be wondering, why do we need keep filters if we can use filter function? Generally, keep filter will have better performance. If we have large data sets, then keep filters will have better performance compared to filter function. That is why keep filter is preferred for large data sets. If the dataset is not that large, then you can use filter function instead of keep filters. Now, as a challenge, I want you to consider remove filters and see how it works in Power BI Desktop. Okay, everyone, this is day 3 in which we have covered all of these functions. Tomorrow, we are going to discuss about date and time functions. If you found this video useful, then please like this video and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. That is all in this video, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.